Okay, welcome back to another game day preview. And this week sees the Eels take on the Titans at Combank Stadium. And we've got another super fan of the opposition, this week being the Titans. We've got great man Liam Flanagan from Triple M Brisbane, who's a massive Titans fan. How you going, Liam?
I'm very well, Troy, mate. And can I say what a privilege it is to join you to talk about the mighty Gold Coast Titans. Be honest with me. Who was on your list after me? How many other Super
Well,
fans do you actually know?
there's obviously I think Jimmy Wilson. I think he's a Titans fan. Who else? There's obviously Clarkey from Clarkey's rugby league there. He's a Titans fan.
Okay, so there's a few.
There's a couple that I know of, but straight away I thought of yourself.
Yeah, well,
So
of
that's it.
course.
Well, let's start off. Quick question: how did you end up supporting the Titans? Because aren't you from Adelaide?
I am, and until they bring back the Adelaide Rams, I will
Which
be
they should.
I will be a Titans till I die. Look, I am from Adelaide, a late in life convert to the wonderful game of rugby league. Grew up with AFL, obviously, but I met my now wife in 2006, and she is a Brizzy girl and mad Broncos supporter. And we were sitting down at a pub one night, and I said, "Explain this sport to me."
Yeah.
Didn't really know the rules. Remembered, had vague recollections of watching the Mal Meninga and Laurie Daly Raiders late at night on whatever channel it was being shown in Adelaide, but didn't really know much more. She walked me through it, and at the time, the game on the TV it was 2006. So it was the first year of the Gold Coast Titans, and it was a Titans Broncos game. And she said, "This is the Broncos. This is my team." And I said, "Who are they playing?" She said, "It's the Gold Coast Titans. It's a brand new team." And I said, "Perfect. That will be my team." And now, as it happens, I now live on the Gold Coast, and it's worked out rather nicely, except for the fact that the Titans haven't gone that well.
Well, yeah, nah, great story there, great story there, and it must be interesting the local derbies between the Broncos and the Titans in your household.
But yeah, it is. It is my. It's funny because I've got an almost 7-year-old and an almost 3-year-old, and my wife and I are both sort of
Trying to convert them.
a little bit of a bribery aspect to getting them on our side, but we'll let them choose their own teams.
Yeah, nah, fair enough. My daughter, she goes for everyone against who plays Parramatta. So, but I think she's set on the Panthers, and you can't blame her winning the comp the last couple of years. So
Absolutely not.
that's it. Who have been some of your favourite Titans players from over the years?
Early doors can't go past the great Preston Campbell.
Yeah,
I mean, just not only because, I mean, for those that aren't aware, I had the privilege of working with the Wild Panther himself in Sydney for 4 years. Mark Geyer and I did a show together, and hearing MG talk about Preston the way he did, and Ryan Girdler and these guys talk about Preston as a teammate. But then just seeing him, and this is a guy who weighed 70 kilos and
yeah,
playing a game of giants, and the way he not only survived but thrived. You just don't see players his size. I mean, Luke Keary's probably the closest there is in the game these days. You
yep,
just well now his son
yep.
Jaden,
Jaden, yeah,
but Jaden's much bigger than
okay,
Preston ever was height wise. I mean,
height
he's slight,
wise,
but
yep.
he's tall. So Preston was amazing. I love the ball, Luke Bailey as well. And then Scotty Prince turned up, and I mean, what a magician he was as well. In more recent times, right now, you go to the current team, and I love this current team. It is stacked. There is
Yeah,
talent across the board. The forward pack is arguably, I think, as good as anyone in the comp with Tino and Mo and Dave Fifita. And I love Sam. I mean, Sam Verrills, the shoulder injury, which has kept him out of the side, which has been unfortunate, but I still think he's done a great job now that he's come back in the side. Foran's turned up this year. And look, the halves has been a tricky one because ultimately I think AJ's best spot is at fullback.
yeah.
But I think Jaden Campbell's best spot is
He's
probably fullback as
fullback.
well. I love what Tanner Boyd's been doing, making the number 7 jersey his own. I wish Toby Sexton all the best at the Bulldogs. But yeah, I really really like this current day Titans side.
So a couple of burning questions. First of all, will the Titans get Ben Hunt next year?
Locked in,
Locked in. Okay.
absolutely guaranteed.
Okay. Will the Titans lose David Fifita and Big Tino due to this new clause in their contract?
Not a chance. Not a
No?
chance. No, look, I've got my supporter goggles on here.
Yep.
I'll try and take. Actually, you know what? I'll try and take them off. I'll try and take my supporter goggles off and be objective about it for a moment. Dave Fafita has just gone through a protracted contract saga. Like, he's only just re-signed with the club. And as much as I think Justin Holbrook, he probably liked playing under Justin Holbrook, I think for Dave, it was probably about everything else. It was probably about the money and the conditions, and clearly the Broncos were in for him. And he's really good mates with Reece Walsh, and there was reason enough to maybe go back to Brisbane and the Broncos and compete for a competition. But he chose the Titans, and I don't think Dave wants to go anywhere. And I think with Kieran Foran being at the club this year, he's unlocked the best of Dave Fafita that we've seen since, he burst onto the scene and blew us all away. Tino's the captain. Tino is a leader. His brother's at the club. His partner's part of the netball setup. He loves it. His parents are down there now. He absolutely loves the coast. He's not going anywhere either. I think this clause that allows them to examine their contracts now that Holbrook's not there is probably just a nice bit of management from their managers. It's probably just a nice bit of player management. I genuinely don't think they're going anywhere. I think the team, particularly now that you see so many of them getting involved in the Origin scene too as well. I think with Mo and Dave and Tino all being part of the Queensland setup, I don't think they want to break that up and risk, not being a part of that moving forward. And having the likes of Reece Walsh and Selwyn Cobbo just up the road with the Broncos, there's a bit of a Queensland core of young kids building together under Billy Slater. So I think all those things will play a part in it. If I put my goggles back on as a Titan supporter, why would you leave?
Yeah,
this is arguably the best pack in the comp. Ben Hunt's coming to the team next year. You got AJ, you got Jaden, you got Tanner doing it. This team, and Dez is turning up.
Big Dez.
The greatest head of hair in the history of rugby league.
Professor.
The nutty professor lands on the coast next year. This team will compete for the comp next year. Why would they leave?
Yeah, personally, I think they'll stay, but I think they'll stay. As you said, they've got too many reasons to stay, and why would you want to give all that up? But
exactly.
That's right. Well, we're here to talk this weekend, this Sunday, the last game of round 20, Eels versus Titans at CommBank Stadium. And previous game, the Titans got the Eels at Magic Round, 26-24. Kieran Foran had a blinder that day. What are your thoughts on this game? First of all, your side, the Titans, and then the Eels.
Well, before we get into this game, and I do have strong thoughts on this. I want to, Troy. It's been a while since you and I have spoken. I want to get your feel about, and I want to hear your take on this Parramatta side and where they're at, because, and here's why I want to ask, because I actually think the Titans and Parramatta, there's some parallel. These two teams could have been mirror images of one another, right? Because I think had the Titans not pulled the trigger on Justin Holbrook, they could have found themselves in a Parramatta Brad Arthur type situation where it's a loaded team full of talent. And the difference is Brad's obviously taken your team to a grand final, but we know the pressure that Brad always finds himself under when Parra isn't going well.
Yep.
But they've locked him in now. They've locked into him. They're committed to Brad Arthur. This is our man. Where do you think your Parra team is at right now? I mean, and now going into state of, with state of origin, all of a sudden you're getting all this representation with Mitch and Clint and RCG and all that. Where are they at for you?
Well, I think they're sort of below where they think they would want to be at. Obviously making the grand final last year. They had a slow start to the season. They had some close losses at the start of the year. Look, I'm not going to blame the draw in terms of who they played and when they played them. Obviously, they've been a bit rough with the Origin draw as well. But look, last weekend against the Warriors was probably a little bit of a speed bump. It was always going to be tough to beat them, being the full strength side during that Origin period, and us having three players out, three very key players. And I think, like previous to that, they were 5 wins on the trot, so they were getting into some form. Unlike Parramatta sides of the past, they've scored points, so their for and against was right up there. Usually that's around that, it's either a negative or around that zero mark. It's not very high, it's not very low, so it's good to see them scoring points. So the thing with Parramatta is I think they try and wait for semi-finals. Like it's hard for them. Like they know they're going to probably make finals,
Hmm.
but they want to just get there and play finals and hopefully redeem themselves for last year. I think they'll probably finish maybe fifth or sixth in the competition. They've got some hard games coming up, but it's going to be a good test. They've got the Cowboys who are coming into form. They've got Melbourne Storm down in Melbourne, Brisbane up in Brisbane. They play the Panthers in the last round, or the second last round. They have a bye in the last round. So they've got some tough games coming up, but that we're getting some players back now. Sean Lane's coming back from
Hmm.
injury. Um, Obviously, the only one that probably we will be missing for another 3 weeks is Dylan Brown.
Yep.
Um, Once he comes back, that'll probably be the look. This weekend's team is probably one of the strongest that they've fielded all year. Obviously, with Dylan Brown not playing, he'd probably be the only admission. So, look, they're getting into a bit of form. I think last week was just a speed bump, and they get the players back this week, and hopefully the roll-on starts this weekend.
Well, look, the. I like that you've just told me that you think it's probably one of the strongest teams they fielded all weekend, all year this weekend, without obviously Dill Brown. But because I think you lose, I think you're gonna lose this weekend. Eh, I think I was at the Dolphins Titans game last weekend. The Golden Point travesty. But Grant
Oh,
Atkins.
he was offside, mate. He
Oh
was
yeah,
offside.
but no one calls that. No
No,
one calls that.
no. Well, he's made a name for himself now.
Oh yeah. Well, I hope he's happy with himself because he's not welcome on the beaches of Gold Coast anymore. Right? He can go on holiday in Western Australia. He is not welcome on the pristine sand beaches of Queensland anymore.
I'm pretty sure Grant Atkins isn't a Parramatta favourite referee either. So I know where you're coming from.
um. Look, I goggles back on as a Titan supporter. I think the team will bounce back, and I think the reality is, I think this game gets decided in state of origin, if that makes
Okay.
sense. I mean, there's
Yeah.
a really strong representation from both these teams in game three. Parramatta all of a sudden finds itself with Mitch Moses, Regan Campbell Gillard, and Clint Gutherson all running around for New South Wales. Similarly, you got Tino, you got Mo, you got Dave Fifita. And AJ Brimson is the
Yeah.
other one. And I watched AJ in game two of State of Origin. He was the 18th man for Queensland. And I said on the radio show I do here in Brisbane with Liesl Jones and Dobbo, I said to them on the Thursday, the Titans were playing the Broncos that weekend. And I said, Titans will win. Because I watched AJ Brimson and he had that awkward experience of being fully kitted up and not playing a minute, and yet
Yeah.
and then being a part of all the celebrations with Queensland. And I watched him, and I just and I said to Dobbo and Liesl the next day, I said, I think AJ Brimson has got 80 minutes worth of Origin energy in him that he is just going to unleash. And Kieran Foran was sitting with Daly Cherry Evans' family for that game too as well. So I think I'm like, Kieran Foran's absorbing it all. Mo
Yeah.
Fotuaika could play a heap of minutes. There was just all these things I thought this is all going to be good news for the Titans. They went on to win. So I think this game will be ultimately decided in State of Origin game 3. How much does Gutho play off the bench for New South Wales? How taxing is it for Mitch Moses and Regan Campbell Gillard? And on the other side, similarly for AJ and Tino and Dave Fifita.
Yeah, well, I think, Regan Campbell Gillard, I think he's come back the last 2 weeks for Parramatta. So State of Origin is a step up in speed. So that'll be a big test for him. As you said, it'll be interesting to see how many minutes Clint Gutherson gets. Freddie apparently doesn't have a plan for him at the moment. But so that's really interesting. He's basically an injury backup plan, I think.
Which, and look, if they play him like that, I think Parramatta, it's worrying for the Titans, because if Gutho gets, let's say gets less than 10 minutes, he then comes into this game on the weekend with a chip on his shoulder. And I think you could argue that Gutho, and I'm a huge fan of Gutho, I think you could argue he is maybe one of the most unlucky players of his generation in terms of rep footy, because he plays a position which has never been deeper in terms of talent. And he's found himself in the line behind the New South Wales captain and the Australian captain in James Tedesco positionally.
Yeah.
He's always been good enough, but there just hasn't been a spot for him. It's a bit like Daly Cherry Evans in the early days when you had Cooper and JT in the halves for Queensland. It's like, mate, no one's saying you're not a brilliant player. There's just not a spot for you.
And now DCE's playing the most consecutive games in the halfback position, I think, overtaking Alan Langer, I think.
You really?
Yeah, most consecutive games at halfback, I think, overtaking that Alan Langer, Alfie, I think,
Wow.
in this game. So,
What's that?
look, you said that the Titans forwards was probably the best pack in the competition, and look, the front row clash, that's going to be a big one. Obviously, Junior not playing in Origin, Regan playing in Origin, and both Mo and Big Tino playing in Origin. So that's going to be a massive battle. Is there any other battles that you're thinking between the two sides that you're looking forward to seeing?
Look, I actually, I don't know how much you've watched of these outside backs for the Titans. Khan Pereira he's rocks and diamonds. He is capable. I mean, look, breakaway speed, finishing ability, and then last week, I can't remember who put the kick up for the Dolphins, but it might have been Katoa, and then it gets away from him, and all of a sudden the Dolphins go on to score from just a drop bomb, essentially. So, but he's excitement. Brian Kelly is playing with a real edge doing this year. There's a real, I won't say nastiness, but there's an edge to the way Brian Kelly's playing as well. And Aaron Shop is probably someone that outside of the club doesn't get celebrated a lot. But I think he's really valued inside within the club. So look, and they come up against a bunch of outside backs at Parramatta who are really damaging, really threatening. So I think, you could see if all the halves turn up again. I mean, if Mitch comes back healthy from Origin, I'm looking forward to that kicking battle. I think he's the best kicker on the park, but Kieran Foran's been doing a really fantastic job as the leader of this team around the park. So this game could be won on the edges, and I think, when you look at the outside backs of Will Penasini and Bailey Simonson, and then you got Big Maiko and who's on your other wing? You got Sean Russell. Look, it's a really entertaining. I think there'll be points. I think there'll be a lot of points in this game. It's probably going to come down to defense, and I think. What's Parramatta's for and against been like this year? How you guys been going as far as points scored against you?
Let me just bring that one up. So,
because while you look at that's realistically, as much as I love this Titans group, the reason they won't compete this year is because they don't defend well enough. They have too many points scored against them, and historically, when you look back over the competition winners over the years, when it was the Storm, when it was the Roosters, and now at the moment with the Panthers, the best defensive team wins the competition, and the Titans aren't a good enough defensive team yet. So, hopefully that's what Des can instill in them from next year. What's Parramatta's defense been like this year?
Look, it's been pretty reasonable. We've got a points difference of plus 96. So obviously one of the best. I think we're one of the best attacking teams scoring points. Obviously last week against the Warriors was our biggest points scored against us, 46.
So that would have brought it down quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, so we're sitting at 96 plus at the moment, our points difference. So,
so I think based on that, this is going to be a high scoring game. This is going to be lots of tries, lots of points, and I think the defensive coaches will be sitting in the box cringing in both the Para box and the Titans box for this one.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I think the Titans, they're on 20 points at the moment. Parramatta's on 22, sitting in seventh. The Titans in 11th. So it's a crucial game for both clubs. Probably more so for the Titans, just to stay in touch with that top eight. But even more important for the Eels, who had that loss last week, but also need to get that win at home to stay in touch with that top four. And keep the bottom eight away. You say there's going to be a lot of points scored in the game? Do you have a score prediction for the game?
I'll give you a score prediction. Titans will win this 30-24. And I'll give you 30-24. Titans win with AJ Brimson to score. No, Jaden Campbell. With Jaden Campbell to score a double.
Okay. Off the
30-24, Jaden Campbell to score a double off the bench.
Okay. Interesting.
And run around. And the reason he'll do it is because he'll be running around some very tired Origin forwards.
We've only got one. Regan Campbell-Gillard.
Yeah, I know, but he's going to run around. He's going to run around the back of Tino and Mo.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Fair enough.
And they won't call it obstruction.
Right. Okay.
Because the referees know that the Titans were robbed last week, so the bunker will be looking to square things up.
Yes, well, that's interesting. I actually think, look, call me crazy, but I actually think Parramatta's going to put on a clinic this weekend.
Right.
Probably a little bit biased, but look, I think we can put 50 on you guys. I think.
Am I allowed to swear on this, Troy?
If you want to.
Fuck off.
Look, I'm just really thinking that last week will upset them so much. They'll get their players back from Origin, and Gutho's going to have a blinder. He'll want to get back into that winners' circle. Obviously, New South Wales going to win on Wednesday too, by the way. But look, I think there's going to be maybe something like, it could even be like a 50-20 game or something like that.
I'm not going to swear again. I've used my one and only swear. I'm not going to swear at you again. It won't. We're not that bad at defending. But the thing I will say in Para's defense is that you are a 6 to 10 point better side on your home deck. I don't know, what's the forecast for this Sunday?
Let's have a look. Well, and the other thing too is Mike Acevo hasn't scored any tries at Combank in his last couple of home games, so he's got to get that record. Back in attack. It
is a fast deck. It is a really fast deck. My only fear is that if it's a bit, I don't know what the forecast is, but
8 to 19 and sunny on Sunday. So
okay, all right. So the deck
pretty reasonable.
Because it can
12 degrees at 6 o'clock.
If as long as it doesn't get dewy and slippery around the wings, because then obviously at Combank Stadium, the grass is cut so short that they can get really slippery, and all of a sudden the sideline, the touch becomes an issue for the wingers. But if they're the conditions, I think the speedsters, the speed of this Titan side is 50 plus. Troy, that's insane. That is insane.
Well, yeah, look, I'm sorry to bring you on this podcast and insult you like that, but I just really think they're going to score a lot of points. Look, it might not be 50, but they're going to score a lot of points.
I'm having a look. As you're talking, I'm having a look. No one's put 50 on us this year, and you reckon the Eagles are going to roll out and do it?
Yeah, and it could be that curse of putting 50 points on and ending your season. So,
mind you, we've had 3 teams put 40 plus.
Yeah, well,
the Bronx, the Knights, and the Bunnies have all gone 40 plus. So,
we got 42 in the first half against the Dolphins. So, yeah.
Well, mind you, the Dolphins beat us last week. So, no, look, look.
I'm probably completely wrong.
It's season defining for both the clubs, though. You're right. It's one of those 4-point swings, because if you win, you get the 2 points, and you take away 2 points from one of those other teams competing for, the bottom 4 spots in semi-finals. So big game. And I will just say, I don't know how many Titans fans watch this. You got to tip your cap to what Jim Lenihan is doing in place of as the interim head coach. Tough situation for anyone to be expected to actually deliver results. And I think the decision to get rid of Holbrook for this team is made. It's not about next year. It's about the next 5 years. And for Lenihan to step up and take on the task and not just put the cue in the rack, but take on the task of actually trying to get the Titans competitive and get them into finals. I think he deserves a bit of kudos as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. And look, I think for the Titans, I think obviously Jaden Campbell, when he gets on the field, he's going to be a danger. We sort of saw what he did last week against the Dolphins. And yeah, I think he'll probably be a danger man off the bench for them. It's going to be interesting to see what sort of crowd they get there at CommBank. 6:15 on a Sunday night, last day of school holidays here in New South Wales. So hopefully they can get a big crowd there. I'm not too sure if the Titans draw a massive crowd away.
I don't think we travel well. Why would we leave the beaches?
Well, I don't blame you. My auntie lives up on the Gold Coast, and it's great when I go and visit her. So, yeah. So, Liam, thank you very much for joining me today on the Paracave podcast. And listeners and viewers, tune into the Rush Hour on Triple M Brisbane. If you're not in Brisbane, then download the podcast and have a listen to some great stuff there. I've seen some of the socials there, and you guys look like you have a great time up there.
We have a lot of fun. Thank you, Troy. To everyone out there, just celebrate the great game of rugby league. I'm only new to the community, relatively new. I love it. It's a great sport, and can I say to you, Troy, who I've known for many years now, you're one of the greats. You love the game. You support your team like nobody else, and well done to you. And thank you for letting me join you in the Paracave.
Not a problem. Well, maybe in a few weeks' time, we'll do an extended interview of your rugby league support for the Titans as part of the fan series.
Mate, I'm in. You let me know the time and place. I'm there.
No worries. Thank you very much, Liam.